Charlotte, round 5 of the NASCAR Nextel Cup Championship, and we're at Lowe's Motor Speedway, where I think Jimmie Johnson can put this thing away. He has a marvelous record here over his 5 years in the series, and I think his only chief competition might be Jeff Gordon, whose record here for the last 5 races is pretty dismal. 0 for 5 DNFs. I don't think that that's going to make it unless he can turn things around pretty quickly. We've got the title chase on the line. We've got Toyota on the line. Toyota Talladega looked very impressive. It was hard to tell if that was because Toyota had an even playing field for a change. NASCAR had a new engine manifold rule for the restricted plate tracks, and nobody could bring their trick manifolds down there, so that gave Toyota an edge in the fact that nobody else had an advantage over them. Toyota looked well. Michael Waltrip on the pole. Jacques Villeneuve did a good job, I thought. I liked his sponsor, Unison. I think that was a nice touch. He was appropriately polite to his competition, and I think that's going to take him a long way in this thing. I think he's looking to see how well he can integrate himself into the NASCAR fold, and I think he's doing a good job at the start. We've got Dale Jarrett coming up this week to see what his future's going to be. I think he probably cut back to the schedule like Mark Martin has, about 20 races or so, do stuff in the booth, and see just what he can do on the racetrack, even though it seems to be that Michael Waltrip is turning things around. It's going to be cold this weekend, first cold race in a long, long time, so bring your jackets, and please come, because Bruton Smith really wants your seat in his seats. He needs to sell tickets to this place, and besides, it might be the last race here. I really think that that the championship is not going to sell tickets here. They need everything. They need Robosaurus. They need the threat of moving the racetrack. They need any brouhaha they can come up with, and I thought it was a nice touch that Humpy Wheeler got Belmont Abbey on the front page of the Wall Street Journal last week. Nothing like that to help sell tickets in strange places. The Scott Speed is coming in. Dario Franchitti is coming in. Jacques Villeneuve, Juan Montoya. We've got a lot of international flavor in the series right now in the sport. But I'm wondering if NASCAR is really taking advantage of this. Do they have a good game plan internationally? Now, in Mexico City, they started something, and they just sort of let it sit there on the vine, even though the world's richest man is helping bankroll that. I think they need to spark up the Mexico City project. I think Montreal is going to work very well if they follow it up. I think they need to go more internationally and see what's going on. Speaking of internationally, I was talking to Steve O'Donnell, the NASCAR Busch guy who put together the Busch Series for NASCAR for next year. And he says that we should pay attention to Brazil and South America if we look for international expansion by NASCAR. Now, of course, Jacques Villeneuve is from Montreal. Montoya is from Colombia. Brazil has a long history itself of racing, international racing, and General Motors has Emerson Fittipaldi down there doing some stuff. In fact, the head of GM's racing operations, Brent Dewey, used to run the show down there in Brazil. I think that's something to look forward to when the Brazilian Grand Prix kicks off. We'll just see what kind of situation they have down there, because the Interlagos track is not in the best area. So we'll have to see if NASCAR has any game plans. I know Richard Childress had a Brazilian driver on his development program sometime. Anyway, there's some hints about Brazil being something to look forward to. There might be something a brew in that situation. The Chevrolet engine at Talladega left a lot of questions in people's minds. The R07, their brand new engine, didn't do well at all with the new manifold rules. Richard Childress lost just about everything he had. Dale Earnhardt's Incorporated lost about everything they had, and Rick Hendrick's bunch stayed with the ESP2, the tried and true engine. Had no trouble at all. In fact, they went 1-2 in the race. The car tomorrow at Talladega was a dog. I'm sorry, it was a dog. Woof, woof. They need to do something about that car before we get to Daytona. And if it were me, I wouldn't do a thing with the Daytona race. I would run the same cars they ran there last year. You can't improve on the Daytona 500 they had this year. What kind of 2x4, how big a 2x4 do you have to hit these guys over the head with to get them to see the light about the car tomorrow? It's a dog, and it needs major improvements before we can get a decent race out of it, if we even need to have the car tomorrow. I think it's the wrong car at the wrong time, but for the right reasons, as we saw from Kyle Petty's crash. It does very well. The softball has certainly helped out him in that deal. We'll be talking to him this weekend too. The Miller Coors deal. NASCAR just signed a deal with Coors when it was Molson Coors to be the official beer sponsor of NASCAR. What does the Miller angle have to do with this thing now, since Miller is buying into Molson Coors? Will somebody sleep at the switch? Did NASCAR know that was coming down? What will that mean for the sport? And we need to keep an eye on the championship race, because Clint Bowyer is the one guy that has a chance to come up and do something with Jimmie Johnson and Jeff Gordon, and I'm afraid that he doesn't have a very good record here. In fact, none of the chase contenders, except for Jimmie, have a very good record here over the last 3 or 4 years. This could be Jimmie's time to put the coup de grace on the series championship and take it away. only 5 races in. That's Mike Mulhern with the Winston-Salem Journal, journalnow.com, and that's what we're looking for this weekend. But as we've seen this fall, who knows what surprises are in store for us.